Hello and welcome to Hot and Heavy, the Elaine podcast. I'm your host, Shivani Desai. Today I'll be talking about Season 8, Episode 22, The Summer of George. Hello, everyone. Hope you're doing well. Welcome to the last episode of Season 8, the finale. I cannot believe we are already here. This is also the 150th episode of Hot and Heavy, just milestone after milestone. I can't believe I've done 150 episodes of this podcast. It's been great. I mean, I've said it before, but this was initially just to have some kind of a creative outlet during the pandemic. You know, we all found our things. Some of us made sourdough. Some of us took up knitting. I took up podcasting. And I don't have any regrets. So welcome to the 150th episode and the finale of Season 8. Anything to discuss? Well, I had a really fun shoot this week. I shot a commercial for Branch Furniture. This is the ergonomic furniture store that I was talking about a few episodes ago. Good vertebrations. I took a picture of the chair and sent it to my husband. And of course I was like, I think they sell this at Good Vertebrations. And we laughed, you know. Anyway, no, it was interesting. I had to do a lot of demonstration of the features of the chair, lumbar support. As soon as the director said lumbar, I was like, oh, the lumbar yard. I mean, this is what happens all the time. Anything can trigger a Seinfeld reference. And I do try and keep it in for the most part because I figure most people won't get it. I actually got a text from a good friend of mine today. She was like, I know you will appreciate this, but apparently she had to create a username and password for a website that she was using for work. And the sample username was art.vandelay. And I thought that was awesome. I'm like, someone there at this company, it's a huge company too, has a Seinfeld sense of humor. And I said, thank you for sending me this. It did make me smile. And I appreciate you sharing any kind of Seinfeld reference to me. You know, it's an honor. Both Seinfeld and Depeche Mode are the two triggers, I should say, and JLD in general, that people reach out to me if they hear anything about those things or have a question. Yesterday, I also got a message from an old improv friend of mine from Detroit asking me my opinion on the last season of Veep and what they did with JLD's character, Selena Meyer. So it was nice. You know, I always love to talk about JLD. It's never a subject that I'm like, oh God, here we go. Which, I mean, to be honest, I was a little bit leery of starting this podcast. I'm like, oh my gosh, am I going to sort of overdo it and this is going to become a chore and I'm going to like not like Seinfeld or heaven forbid not like JLD after this? We're not even close to that. If anything, it has enhanced my love for this stuff and my desire to talk about all things JLD, all things Seinfeld. So, you know what? Sometimes you worry about things and it never happens. That's kind of the story of my life all around. So with that, let's get into the episode. The synopsis for The Summer of George is as follows. George decides to indulge in a summer of fun when he learns his Yankees severance package will last for 3 months. Jerry attends the Tony Awards, where Kramer is working as a seat filler. Kramer mistakenly accepts a Tony Award, then learns he can keep it if he fires Raquel Welch from the winning show. Jerry and George team up to date a high-maintenance woman. Elaine's comment about a coworker leads to an office catfight. This episode was written by Alec Berg and Jeff Schaefer. We start out in a cafe. George and Jerry are sitting outside, and George cannot believe that the Yankees fired him. He had a good run. Jerry names all this stuff that he probably accomplished, but apparently he didn't really do anything at the Yankees except enjoy a pastry cart. The waitress comes by with their drinks, and after she walks away, Jerry's like, maybe I should ask her out. She is a good waitress. That always cracks me up. Like, that's the top thing about dating someone. Are they a good waitress? Jerry says, maybe I'll take her to the Tonys. George is surprised that he's going to the Tonys. Apparently he wrote a few jokes for them and they gave him 2 tickets. George is like, God, you should have asked me. I know some great theater jokes. What's the deal with those guys in the pit? They're musicians, Jerry says. That's not a joke. It's a funny observation. I love how mad George gets about that. George opens a letter and finds out that he's got a 3-month severance package from the Yankees. And this motivates him. He's really going to make the most of this. What are you going to do? I'm going to read a book, he says, from beginning to end, in that order. I've always wanted to do that, Jerry says. I like this running joke that none of them actually read books. George says he'll also learn to play frisbee golf. This is my time, he says. I proclaim this the summer of George. And then a bee starts flying around him, which of course we know that George runs from bees. That's how he broke a pair of glasses. And he runs into the cafe in fear. The actress in this scene is Amanda Peet. She plays the waitress Lynette. I'm sure many of you recognize her. She went on to star in many films, including The Whole Nine Yards, Something's Gotta Give. Oh, I love that movie. And most recently in the series Fatal Attraction. I think she's really good as Lynette. Nothing too funny about the character, but it is a pretty defined character at least, especially for a love interest. There's like a subtlety to her performance. I'm a fan of Amanda Peet. I really like her, so I enjoy her as Lynette. Next, we're in Peterman's office. Elaine is hanging out with a couple coworkers in the hallway, Dugan and Walter. And we're coming in as she's telling a story. In the middle of the story, she says, and then Peterman ate it. I never told him. And they're all laughing. A woman walks by, her arms stiff at her sides as she walks. And Elaine asks, who's that? Oh, that's the new girl in accounting, Sam. Walter points out how her arms just hang like salamis. Dugan adds that she walks like an orangutan. Better call the zoo, Elaine says. Rare. What? Scatty, they say to Elaine as they walk away, looking at her very disapprovingly. The actress in this scene, Molly Shannon, she plays Sam. She is best known for her legendary run on Saturday Night Live, and since then, other brilliant performances in many shows and films. She is seriously one of my favorite actresses. She has such a unique presence, very unique interpretations in every single one of her performances. Everything she does is a little bit off center, and that is one of my favorite things about a good comedic actress. I put Lisa Kudrow in that same category. Obviously, JLD is top of the heap for that, but there's always a little bit of extra flavor that Molly Shannon puts in not just every performance, every movement, every line she says. It's amazing. She also radiates joy every time you see her on a red carpet or in an interview. I just want to hug her and hang out with her. She's just amazing. Her memoir, Hello, Molly, I know I've mentioned it on the podcast before. It was actually when I was listening to it. It's really one of the best memoirs I've ever read. I highly recommend it. Her story, it's quite tragic, and it's surprising to hear kind of what she went through in her younger years and to see the well-rounded, hilarious, caring, compassionate person she is today. Anyway, love her. And no surprise, I think she may be the best guest star of the entire series. This performance is beyond brilliant as Sam. She kills it in every scene. Obviously, we'll be going through every scene she does, and get ready for it. Buckle up, because it's going to be a Molly Shannon love fest for every single one of those scenes. My take on this scene, it's funny. I love this interaction between Elaine and Dugan and Walter. This is something we actually learned in improv, starting a scene in the middle of a scene. So here, we come in the kind of tail end of whatever story she's telling about Peterman eating something and she never told him what happened to whatever he ate. I'm thinking, I don't know, would it be maybe something fell on the floor? Maybe she sneezed on something like a donut. Anyway, super funny. Or maybe it was the cake, but no, she got caught for that. So that couldn't be the old cake from whatever, that royal wedding. Anyway, I like how she's so baffled about the rare. She's literally like, what? This, of course, sets up the plot along with seeing Sam and how she walks. It's a short and hilarious scene and just really well done. Next, we are in Jerry's apartment. So the last scene kind of leads into this scene. Elaine's telling Jerry at the top about how Sam walks, and he kind of does this impression. She's like, it's like she's carrying invisible suitcases. Like this? Yes. And Jerry agrees, that's so strange. And Elaine's like, yeah, exactly. So why am I the one that gets reared? It's a double standard. The guys are being just as catty. Then Jerry points out the double standard about ladies' nights at bars. And Elaine's response is, that is so stupid. Rare. George is on the couch. He's excited that White Shadow is on. Oh, you're really packing it all in. George gets a little defensive. Look, my vacation's just starting. I need a day or two to decompress. Besides, I did plenty today. And what he did was buy a new recliner with a fridge built right in. Kramer enters. He needs some Tums from gulping too much shower water. Jerry tells George how he's taking that waitress to the Tonys. George couldn't care less. Shadow! He's trying to pay attention. Kramer says how he'll be at the Tonys as well, and that he's a seat filler since they don't want to see empty seats on TV, and that Mickey hooked him up with that job. Yeah, he's a member of the Academy. What Academy? Oh, he didn't say. My take on this scene, I always love seeing Jerry do that straight arm walk. It's really funny. This whole storyline leads to so much great physicality throughout the episode. Elaine's reaction to Jerry's dumbass retort about the double standard, the ladies' night thing, it always makes me laugh too. Like, that is so stupid. And then of course Jerry says rare back to her, and the amount of times that Elaine gets rared in the episode is so wonderful. I love that they leaned into that. It's such a funny sound, and yeah, it's like one of those things, just keep on doing it. It somehow makes it funnier. Next, we're at Lynette's apartment. She answers the door in her gown, tells Jerry, nice tux. Thanks, it's a breakaway. She yells to someone named Lyle that they're going. A man walks out of the kitchen. Jerry, this is Lyle. Hey, how you doing? Jerry's super confused. He says, I'm okay. Lynette and Lyle then kiss on the lips, and he says, have a good time. Thanks, Lyle. Next, we're at the Tonys. We see the audience, and a man stands up. Kramer goes over to him. He's waiting in the aisle, basically, to be a seat filler. And he says, are you leaving? Because I got you covered. Then he just forces his way. I don't really even think the guy was leaving, but he forces his way into the guy's seat, almost knocking him over. The man says, what are you doing? My job. What are you doing? The man walks away. Ba 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 ba. Boom ba dum boom boom. Boom, boom, boom. We have a Gilmore Girls Seinfeld connection. The man who Kramer edges out of his seat is named Adrian Sparks. He appeared on the Gilmore Girls episode, season 3, episode 15, called Face Off. He played Taylor Dosey's brother, Doug, and he's super mean to Taylor Dosey. So there we go. Our Gilmore Girls Seinfeld connection of the episode. Back to the scene. Kramer turns to the woman next to him and he says, if they catch us on TV, you may have some explaining to do. She just turns to him and glares at him. By the way, this actress has appeared before as Todd Gack's mom. We go over to Jerry and Lynette, and of course, Jerry still has Lyle on the mind. So he asks Lynette, are you guys roommates? And she says, no. Gay? What? Is he gay? No. Are you sure? She says, I think I would know. Well, this is a new one, Jerry says. Back to Kramer. He asks the woman if she wants some turkey jerky. She's like so disgusted. Oh, more for me. He takes a pole and punches the guy in front of him with the force of biting it. Super funny. We hear from the stage, Scarsdale Surprise is the winner, and all the folks around Kramer are part of that production, so he gets swept up onto the stage with them. George is in his recliner watching. He's like, Kramer? And we see from George's TV's point of view, the producer saying this truly is a Scarsdale surprise. Well, Kramer tries to turn and walk back to his seat, but then he's escorted backstage with the rest of the group, Tony in hand. Next, we're at Monk's. Sam and Elaine are at a table, and she tells Elaine how she feels like Dugan and the others are making fun of her all the time. Well, Elaine gives her some advice. You might want to think about maybe moving your arms a little while you walk. She's so confused. My arms? You know, sort of swing them so you're not lurching around like a caveman. I'm a caveman. Oh, Sam is so insulted. Elaine tries to, no, that's not what I was saying. Everyone told me what a catty shrew you were. You're horrible. And Sam runs away with no arm movement. I mean, what a gift to have these two female comedic giants in a scene together. I like how Elaine is really trying to help Sam. Like, she's totally honest about it. She's being genuine. She does not mean to insult her. But, Sam is a pretty sensitive person, turns out. And I also want to mention, obviously a lot of what Molly Shannon has to do in this episode is physical. But the voice she's made the choice to use is so quiet and kind of meek. I just think it's such a brilliant choice. And then the straight arm run, come on. It's just incredible physical comedy. I wish they actually showed it from like a wider shot. We only see a little bit, but yeah, I could watch that all day. All right, next we're in Jerry's apartment. Jerry is telling George about the dude. George is like, was it some dude or her dude? And that dudes in this town are a dime a dozen, I reckon, Jerry says. George is like, well, maybe she just wanted to go to the Tonys. I tell you what, ask her out again. No Tony, just Jerry. That way you'll know if it's her dude or just some dude. Dude. They high five. George has to go. He's wiped at 10:30 in the morning. Jerry asks, so has the summer of George begun, or are you still decomposing? Decompressing. I always love that. Kramer enters, still in his tux, holding the Tony. Jerry can't believe that he didn't give it back. But then Kramer says how it was just a whirlwind. The media is swarming, champagne is flowing. I can't describe how great it is to win. That's because you didn't. And George remembers what this musical Scarsdale surprise is. Oh, it's about the diet doctor murder. Yes, Kramer says, featuring the mind-blowing performance of Miss Raquel Welch. Jerry's calling him out. You haven't even seen it. And Kramer isn't going to let Jerry bring him down from his high. He's been partying all night. I saw the sunrise at Liza's. What? Manelli's? No. All right, next we're at Elaine's office. Sam is in Elaine's office, just standing in front of her desk, and Elaine is apologizing to her. I'm so sorry about the other day. And Sam tells her there's no need to apologize. And she was thinking maybe she should swing her arms a little bit more. And Elaine is so relieved. Yeah, that's all I was saying. How's this? Sam starts swatting things off of Elaine's desk very violently. Big swings of her arms. And this, while swinging and knocking everything over. Elaine just watches and says, you certainly seem to be getting the hang of it. My take, incredibly funny scene again. We see the dark side of Sam here, trashing the office while quietly saying, like this. Or like this. That juxtaposition's fantastic. Again, great physical gags, super funny. Molly Shannon is a genius. Next, we're in Lynette's apartment. So it looks like Jerry has asked her out again with no Tony. She answers the door in a towel and apologizes that she lost track of time. He says, no rush. And Jerry's even holding flowers for her. She runs back to the bedroom and out comes Lyle from the kitchen in a towel, drinking a beer. Hey, Jer, what's up? I have absolutely no idea. Next, we're in Jerry's apartment. He's on the phone with George, just so annoyed with Lynette. She expects me to squire her around town while the dude is at home in swaddling clothes. It's like she split the role of boyfriend into two jobs, and the dude's playing the showroom, and I'm stuck with food and beverage. Kramer walks in. George is like, who's that? It's Kramer. And then Kramer asks who's on the phone. It's George. Hey, George! Jerry's so annoyed. He asks George just to come over. Why can't I do this over the phone? What's Kramer doing now? He's looking in the fridge. Anything good in there? Any popsicles? Jerry's like, I can't do this. So he hangs up. Kramer asks Jerry if he wants to join him at Sardi's for lunch. Are you taking the Tony to Sardi's? No, the Tony is taking me to Sardi's. There's a knock at the door, and it's Lynette. Oh, hello, Jerry says. And on Kramer's way out, she congratulates him. And he starts an acceptance speech like he's on stage. All right, that's enough. And Kramer exits. Lynette tells Jerry that she ended things with Lyle and that she'd rather be with him. So no dudes or fellers? What do you think? She says. I could start right away. The phone rings again. Jerry knows it's George, so he tells Lynette, let's go out. Then we hear George on the machine. Come on, what's happening? Pick up the phone. Next, we're at Sardi's. Kramer is at a booth holding court with some people, telling a story that is just delighting them. Everyone's laughing. A couple of men approach. One introduces himself as the producer of Scarsdale Surprise. Oh, Kramer pretends. Lou! We need to talk, he says. Uh-oh, Kramer is scared. Next, we're in Elaine's office. Peterman wants to know what Elaine needs. And she's like, look around. And we see the office is a mess. She's like, Sam trashed my office. Peterman gets excited. I see what's going on here. A good old-fashioned catfight. Elaine's like, no, it's not a catfight. This is violent, psychotic behavior directed at me, all because I told her to swing her arms. Woof. You mean rare? Ah, yes, that's it. Peterman leaves. Good day, Elaine. She goes after him. No, Mr. Peterman, please. She's crazy. And just then, Sam walks up next to her and stares at her. Elaine pretends to be singing Crazy by Patsy Cline. Sam just stares at her and slowly walks away. My take on this scene, I always laugh so hard when Peterman says, woof. It gets me every time. You know, that look on his face, he's just like so proud of himself. It's so funny. Speaking of expressions, Molly Shannon, when she appears out of nowhere, that searing glare, like, wow. I mean, we always talk about JLD's face acting, but holy crap, that look is just, she doesn't need any dialogue. She just appears and stares at Elaine. Top-notch face acting. And then the way she slowly inches away, like off camera. So brilliant all around. All right, next we're in Monk's. Jerry's exhausted after his day with Lynette. She starts grilling him about their date that night, dinner reservations, what she should wear, and that he needs to call her while she's getting a haircut and to leave a message so she knows he called. She gets up to leave and confirms that Jerry will take the bags, and he's like, yeah, I will. So she exits, and Jerry just collapses his head onto the table. George enters. Apparently the cable is out, so he got out of the recliner and left his place. He looks at Jerry. He says, you look dead. What's going on? He says, Lynette, I need like a relationship intern or something. This amuses George. Wow, a relationship intern. He's like, wait a second. What if the two of us teamed up? I mean, not sexually, but, you know, in this relationship. He points out how they're always helping each other with girl problems, but they get nowhere, and that neither one of them can handle a woman all by themselves. Jerry's like, I'm trying. George is like, I've tried. We don't have it. So they figure out that working together at full capacity may do the job of one normal man. So that means each of us would have to be half a man. That sounds about right. I have to say, some of the best written dialogue of the entire series in this scene. I love that exchange. Back at Sardi's, the producer is telling Kramer how he had nothing to do with the production. You know, there's no way that you can keep the Tony unless, and Kramer's like, please, anything, I'll do anything. They ask him if he's familiar with Raquel Welch. Oh, she's great. She's a train wreck. Apparently, she doesn't move her arms when she tap dances. There's a lot of this in tap dancing. I like the way the guy like waves his arms around, and it's very distracting. Oh, so you want me to teach her how to dance? No, they say, we want you to fire her. Next in Jerry's apartment, Jerry's like, why the hell do they want you to fire her? Kramer says, because they're terrified of her. One time they cut one of her lines and she started dropping stage lights on people. Story like that's gotta be true. Kramer is so scared that she's gonna eat him alive. Elaine enters and tells Jerry what Sam did to her office, calls Sam the crazy straight-armed woman, and she also left a message on Elaine's machine. So Elaine has a little tape recorder and plays it. Elaine, I'm going to find you. If you're not in your office, then in the Xerox room or the small conference room next to the kitchen or the kitchen. Elaine stops the tape. She must have like a blueprint of the building or something. Did you tell Peterman? Jerry asks. She says she tried, but he thought it was some sort of cat fight. Well, that stops Kramer in his tracks. Cat fight? Elaine asks, okay, what? What is it? Why at the mention of a cat fight do guys do this? Yee, cat fight. I can't do it justice. Well, Jerry explains that men feel that if two women are grabbing and clawing at each other, there's a chance they might somehow kiss. Elaine just collapses onto the counter. My take on this scene, oh my gosh, all of the Molly Shannon stuff just keeps getting better and better. I told you guys this was going to happen. I cannot gush about her enough. This recording is next level. Now we see that Sam can clearly speak louder than her usual tone, especially when she's threatening someone. And the way it starts out, that initial Elaine, then it just keeps getting better and better. Michael Richards, I have to call out, is also so funny in this scene. His reaction to catfight always makes me laugh. Elaine's reaction to Jerry's explanation, I like that he sort of has an air when he's saying this, like, well, this is what men think. It's kind of shameful. There's some embarrassment. and that collapse onto the counter. Like, what the hell else can you do with that? Elaine's like, I think it's one of the, again, those moments many times she has throughout this series of like, I cannot believe I'm friends with these idiots. Next, we're on the street. Jerry and George are walking, and George is doing his intern duties. He's got the movie tickets for their date. He changes Jerry's sweater to the one she likes, tells him to comment on her nail color because she just got him done. And he ends it all with spraying some breath spray in Jerry's mouth. Oh, Jerry remembers that he needs to get some invitations because she asked him to. George is annoyed. A little notice would have helped. Tells him he needs about 35. And George, with the invitations. I know. Don't skip. Just go. Lynette arrives right on time. I like that, she says. He compliments her nails and she loves the sweater. Oh, this whole thing. Really well done scene. I like that one. Next, we're at the stationery store. Same place where they got the wedding invitations, and the woman remembers George. Oh, yes, you were in here before. How'd that all work out? George just says, yeah, no complaints. She flips to the cheap invites since she remembers George. And actually, George says, no, let's go back to the front. He wants the glossy ones. Next, we're in Raquel Welch's dressing room. Raquel is rehearsing in the mirror when Kramer enters. She asks, who are you? He introduces himself as one of the producers. She gets a phone call and says, no, I don't want to do that. If you bring it up again, I'll feed your genitals to a wolf. She hangs up. Kids! She turns to Kramer. You're still here. Kramer says that he needs to talk to her about a problem with her performance. Ooh, she kicks a chair out of her way. What problem? Well, Kramer just starts babbling nervously on, and she just cuts him off. Out with it. He says, you're fired because you don't use your arms when you tap dance. You're like a gorilla out there. I gotta go. She grabs him as he's trying to run away, and you can tell it's not going to be good. The actress in this scene is legend Raquel Welch. She plays herself, of course, and she is a Hollywood icon, sex symbol of the 60s. In fact, it was the poster of her from 1 million years BC that concealed Andy Dufresne's escape hole in Shawshank Redemption, one of my favorite movies of all time. So, of course, I think of her when I see this episode. I'm like, oh my gosh, she also helped out Andy Dufresne because he was wrongly imprisoned, you guys, for so long. Anyway, if you haven't seen Shawshank Redemption, what are you doing with your life? Go immediately see it. Anyway, she started out as a local TV weatherwoman and then modeled. And then after she got a divorce from her first husband, she broke into films, and the rest is history. I think she is so incredibly funny in this episode. She hits all the marks of being in a sitcom. It's like that special sitcom humor and that performance. It's very specific, and she does it perfectly. I do have some more information about what the experience was like having her on set. I'll cover that in the extras. She did pass away in 2023. Not from the fucking curse, Greg. I know what you're thinking, but instead from complications of Alzheimer's disease. I just love her in this performance. 10 out of 10. Love Raquel Welch. All right, next we're in the park. George is walking through with the invites in hand, and a frisbee lands in front of him. A guy tells him that they need a fourth for their frolf game. George thinks about it, and we see two images pop up over his head, one of a frisbee and one of Jerry. What's the deal with airplane peanuts? And George decides on the frolf. Next, we're in Lynette's apartment. Jerry is excited because he's in a towel with her, but she's irritated because she doesn't have the invites yet. If they don't go out today, they're useless. But we're in towels. Jerry, fine. So he calls George, also while he's on the phone with George. Lynette's like, did you shave your chest? I thought that was a hilarious callback. George is just getting back from frolfing. He answers the phone, and Jerry's in a panic for those invitations. You were supposed to leave them with her doorman. Yeah, he says, I got him. The best they had, super glossy. Well, get him over here pronto. We're in towels. All right. Keep your towel on. What? It was a joke. All right, that's not bad. Now just get over here. We see George coming down the stairs, and he slips on one of the dropped glossy invitations, and he says, ow. Next, we're on the street. Elaine is talking to a couple of cops, and she's playing them more of that threatening message from Sam, where Sam is saying more places where she will find Elaine, the ATM across the street, or the watch shop. Can't you do anything about this? This woman is a psycho. And of course, what do the cops do? Rare. Oh, Elaine has had it. Just because I am a woman doesn't mean We see Raquel Welch walking down the street. She's so upset. I don't move my arms when I dance. That's my signature. Back to Elaine, she's like, okay, can you just keep an eye out for this woman? She's, I don't know, yay high, and she doesn't swing her arms when she walks. One of the cops like, what do you mean? So Elaine does an impression for the cops, and they think it's hilarious. They're laughing. Then Raquel Welch walks up. What the hell is that? Are you making fun of my dancing? Elaine is starstruck. Aren't you Raquel Welch? You know who I am. Now what are you doing? Elaine's like, oh, nothing. I just wasn't moving my arms. That's it. You're going down. We hear off camera that there is a physical fight between Raquel Welch and Elaine going down, and we see the cops are just excited and watch. Ooh, cat fight. My take on this scene. Okay, I don't have a lot of occasion to say the words watch shop, but when I do, you can bet I say it, watch shop! We did have one in the town in Michigan where I lived before I moved out here into Colorado. And it was like this dusty old watch shop and a clock shop. Like they had old kind of, they had new clocks, but they also had like grandfather clocks. It was one of those stores. You wonder like, how the hell does this stay in business? There's never anyone in here, but they have all this inventory. Anyway, I would go there back when I wore, I used to be kind of obsessed with watches. And so I would need watch batteries replaced quite a bit. And I would go to this store, and you better believe I would say, and sometimes to no one in particular, I would just say that I'm going to the watch shop. Back to the scene for Elaine. This is like the height of all the misogyny here with these jackass cops ignoring her concern and just raring instead. And like you feel, I mean, I just so feel Elaine in that plea, like just because I'm a woman doesn't mean this is a cat fight. Ugh, I just want to punch those cops in their stupid condescending faces. Oh, I guess that would warrant a rare. Not only do we get to see JLD and Molly Shannon together in this episode, but this interaction with Raquel Welch is just as fun. It's short, but such high quality. The way Raquel Welch says, you're going down. Just perfection. Next, we're in the hospital. Jerry is waiting and Kramer enters. How's George? I don't know. They won't tell me anything. He notices that the Tony is all broken and Kramer's all banged up. What happened? He says, Raquel Welch. Just then, Elaine walks up all disheveled with big scratches on her face. What happened to you? Raquel Welch. That woman is a menace, Kramer says. Yeah, I bumped into her on the street, Elaine says. Got pretty ugly. Well, of course, Jerry and Kramer get excited at the notion of a catfight with Raquel Welch. George is wheeled up in a stretcher. My God, George. He says he slipped on the invitations. And then the same doctor who told George that Susan had died comes out. He tells him that his legs have sustained extensive trauma because of the atrophy caused by a period of extreme inactivity. But he says with a lot of hard work and some good luck, things could change and he could one day walk again. And the doctor exits. Oh, that's good news, Kramer says. George just looks at him. What? Wow, the invitations again, Elaine says. Yeah, that's weird. So, you guys want to get some coffee? Or, yeah, they all want to get some coffee. So Jerry, Elaine, and Kramer walk away, leaving George behind. He says, this was supposed to be the summer of George. Summer of George. We have a tag in the episode. They're at physical therapy, both George and Sam. George is trying to walk, and Sam is trying to swing her arms with a therapist. And that therapist just keeps saying, swing him. Just, swing him. Sam gets so frustrated. I can't do it, okay? It's hard. Then George falls over and says, still a little summer left. My take, I mean, this isn't much, but I like how Elaine says, Raquel Welch. Great JLD delivery. And this ending's just brilliant all around. Just some quick commentary on this. So for those of you who are maybe not familiar with what happened, when Susan died and the flippant way that the main characters reacted to that really caused a lot of a kind of hate towards Seinfeld. They're like, that was so inappropriate. A woman dies. And they just are like, oh, it's no big deal. And, kind of forgetting, I think, as this usually happens with these types of things where people just want to have a reaction, they're like, did you watch the rest of the show? None of them like Susan. Susan was terrible. Like, anyway, yeah. And plus it's the tone of the show. So anyway, because of that backlash that they got, I love that they made this decision in this season finale to be like, okay, a year later, George is going to be paralyzed and Jerry, Elaine, and Kramer are just going to go get some coffee. Like, I love that they leaned into it. I love that it was like a big kind of fuck you to these people who are way too sensitive. Oh, I just love that they did that. Brilliant move. All right, I'm going to take a quick break and I will see you on the other side. And then she said how her lashes looked like dead spiders. And I was like, rare. You said rare. Okay, boomer. Excuse me? No one says rare anymore. Well, what should I say? Okay, the next time someone is being super catty, you hit them with this. Hi, I'm Sam Welch, founder of Caveman Industries, an organization that redefines how we speak about women, and more specifically, bitchy women. Many years ago, I was the victim of bullying in the workplace. Luckily, I handled it very well. But since then, I've made it my mission to change things. Sound effects to ridicule someone is part of being in modern society. But like anything, the sound effects need to evolve with the times. Rare is what your mother used to say. Is the future. Join my mailing list at .net so you never embarrass yourself using ancient, insulting sound effects. Remember when you made fun of your whipped friend and you teased them with this sound? Whoosh. Nope, that's not how you make them feel terrible about their relationship. Now you hit them with instead of a shiver when something creeps you out. Now ching 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 ching. Ditch saying ew. Instead, go with why oh hi. Anyway, Fern told me about Terry's botched Botox, and I was like, okay, Fern was being but I did see Terry's face, and I was like, why oh hi. Seriously, I was like, ching 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 ching. That is true. Oh, sorry, I need to text my boyfriend. We try to touch base every couple hours. Girl, you are so Caveman Industries, because words are boring. And we're back. There was an inside look for this episode, and I just wanted to go over what they said about having Raquel Welch on the show. So they were saying how, she does have this reputation. It's well known that she's kind of difficult, but that she was so thrilled to be on Seinfeld. If you were going to, maybe point out some high maintenance stuff, she did call ahead to talk to the set designer about the lighting, what her best lighting is. She called the wardrobe department and had to be specific, what she wanted to wear and what her taste is. But it wasn't anything like her being difficult. To me, I'm like, yeah, hell yeah. She's self-advocating and she's like, this is how I know I look good. You're going to get the best work out of me if you do these things. And it's well within an actor's rights to do so. So badass Raquel Welch. I love that. And then the director said she was not difficult at all. They were kind of nervous because of her reputation, but she showed up very prepared, really willing to work with everyone. And yeah, she just was not difficult at all. And that was sort of a pattern for the show. Other guest stars who had reputations of being difficult for whatever reason, when they were on Seinfeld, they cleaned up their act. That's what this one producer said. He's like, I don't know what it was, but people were so excited to be on the show that there was no difficulty that we had heard about previously about them. So I just thought that was kind of interesting. Like, people were like, I'm not going to screw up my time on Seinfeld. Like, I'll be difficult on this movie later, but no, I'm on Seinfeld. I'm following directions. The dude storyline was actually based on Alec Berg. So he's one of the writers of this episode. He took the actress who played Nikki in the episode with Todd Gack. He took her to the Oscars. And so when he went to pick her up, just same thing. He went to pick her up and he's like, he made a point to say she looked like blindingly stunning, like so incredibly beautiful. But there was this dude, and it was clearly her boyfriend, but she wanted to go to the Oscars. I mean, they kissed in front of him, just like you see in the episode. He didn't handle it as well as Jerry. Jeff Schaffer kind of calls him out. He's like, yeah, you were a bit more saltier than Jerry was. And he's like, oh yeah. I felt pretty taken advantage of. He did say, you know what, even if you have really kind of hurtful and crappy things in your life that happen, at least you can get a storyline out of it. In the commentary, I don't know if it was Jeff Schaffer or Alec Berg who said this, but one of the writers had a friend from high school. This whole thing with Sam was based on his friend from high school who did not move her arms when she walked. And he was like, she was well liked. She wasn't like an outcast or anything. And he's like, and honestly, I didn't notice it at all until one time their chemistry teacher, apparently it bothered him beyond belief, because one day he just kind of snapped and he says, for God's sake, swing your arms. I just thought that was hilarious. Like, this teacher could not take it anymore. This poor girl is just walking around, no arm swinging, and she gets yelled at. There was a deleted scene. Oh my God. And it was actually a really good one. I wish they kept this in the episode. So it's kind of the same setup we see in that first scene at Peterman's office when Sam first walks by. So again, it's Elaine, Dugan, and Walter standing there. Sam walks by again, says hi to everyone, but, of course, not moving her arms. And Dugan calls her Magilla Gorilla. And then Elaine just rares him right away. He's like, what? I'm not being catty. I'm being witty. She says, yeah, dim-witty. And then Walter goes, rare. She goes, I'm not being catty, you idiot. And then Dugan rares that. Then Sam walks by again, and Elaine wants to prove them wrong. So Elaine's like, hey, do you want to get a bite after work? And Sam says, yeah, that's nice. Thank you. So she walks away. And Elaine says, see how nice I am, you jackasses. And then Dugan starts another rare, but she says, stop. It's a really funny scene. It's just amping up the rares. And I think we find out why Elaine and Sam are at Monk's together, because Elaine asks her to go with her because she's trying to prove I'm not catty, you guys, and you guys are being way worse. Anyway, it was a really funny scene. I wish they kept it in. All right, now it's time for Greg's Sack Lunch. Greg is our most dedicated contributor to this podcast, and every week he sends us a big honkin' sack of his thoughts. So his overall thoughts, he says, I quote George's declaration of the summer of George every summer, and I don't even change it to my own name. One of my best friends came to New York City, and I visited him in Chicago, and we said it every time we had a great beer or meal or were sitting at a baseball game. We were idiots. This episode is fantastic. The guest stars make it one of the most memorable of the season, if not the series. Completely on the same page. And I love that you just would declare Summer of George everywhere and that you have a friend that does it with you. Those are the best friends. Good for you, Greg. Next in Greg's sack are his favorite scenes and Elaine moments. He says, you cannot top whenever Elaine is dealing with Molly Shannon. This dynamic could have lasted a whole season and I'd have been on board with it. Molly is a comedic powerhouse, and this appearance is one of the best guest star roles in Seinfeld history. My favorite moment is when Elaine is telling Peterman she's crazy and then breaks into Patsy Cline's crazy for feeling. Oh my God. I mean, I've spent this entire episode gushing about Molly Shannon. I mean, can you imagine an entire season? They did mention in the commentary, obviously, this was still when SNL was in season, so they must have just flown her out for the weekend or 1 or 2 days she got out of an SNL week, or it was an off week. They didn't remember, but they were all saying the same thing, like how lucky we were to get Molly Shannon to play this role because she is absolutely fantastic. Next, Greg says, the scene with Raquel Welch on the street is brief, but perfectly executed by both actresses. I love how everyone is ready to fight Elaine today. They don't even have to show the fighting, just the cop's reaction to it. While the concept of a cat fight is ridiculous misogyny, it's addressed really well when Jerry gives the explanation and Elaine gives the counterpart of how this is real violence happening to her. I agree. I do think they handled it really well. They don't defend these men who are turned on by a cat fight. Every man who admits it looks like a fucking idiot, So I like that they present it that way. And that's part of why I like Seinfeld so much. It's a very self-aware show because I think Seinfeld, well, I think maybe more so Larry David, just a very self-aware person. He's just so perceptive of all kinds of human behavior. And so like while behaviors might be so stupid and ridiculous, they're real. Like this catfight thing is real, but it is super misogynistic and really, really like idiotic behavior by these men. So I really like the way they presented in this episode. It's again, not defending why men do this, but it's just that men are idiots and they do this. Greg goes on to say, it's not an Elaine scene, but George back at the stationery store buying invitations is so brilliant. When the saleswoman asks how it turned out and he says, no complaints, I died laughing. Such a good callback. Oh my gosh. I know. Just a little nugget there. Of course, we needed it to move the historian along, but oh my gosh. They got that same actress. It's addressed perfectly. I think they cut this part out in syndication, but of course I watched it on Netflix or the DVD, so I see the whole thing. But the part where the woman's like, oh, okay, let's go to the back of the book. I mean, just so great. All of us Seinfeld fans appreciate those callbacks. All right, next in Greg's sack is his scene swap idea. He says, this is one of those instances where I love everything happening. I just want more of each. Jerry gets sort of the lamest story, but I excuse it because tying in George replacing the dude was a genius end to the season and to the summer of George. If anything, I just want more Molly Shannon and JLD back and forth. This is arguably my favorite plot for Elaine for the whole season. We barely see her at work after the first part of this season, so seeing her back there with the best character ever in the workplace plots deserves more. The trashing of the office, the threatening phone calls, all of what Molly Shannon executed here cannot be understated. Yes, like I said, every scene with Molly Shannon, it's so funny. And it's funny because of not just a physical thing. It's not funny because of the way she reads the lines. It's everything put together. It's the reactions from JLD. It's everything. And yeah, I agree. I mean, spoiler alert, I agree with you. I love every plot in this episode. I was going to address that in my final notes, but yeah, I mean, more Molly Shannon and JLD, how amazing would that have been? I mentioned that deleted scene, and I was hoping when I saw that there was one, I was like, oh my gosh, I hope it's more of JLD and Molly Shannon interacting. But, you know, it was still a funny scene because of the additional rares and how she tries to call out the guys on the rares. But yeah, I agree. I mean, Molly Shannon is a absolute gem, and she is, like I said, I will unapologetically say the best guest star of the series. Ooh, we get an other section in Greg's sack. He says, Molly Shannon, Raquel Welch, who died last year due to Shivani. God damn it. And Amanda Peet, the least funny part of the three here, are all amazing guests to have in this one. While Amanda is way too young for Jerry per usual, she does a great job of playing off him, and the demands she has of her boyfriend make for a clever concept. She had quite a run in the late 90s and early 2000s, and I wonder what became of her movie career. Yeah, I mean, I still really like Amanda Peet's performance. Like I said, it's not a funny character, but it's a dynamic one. And I do like her. I think she does a really good job with it. She's very subtle. I think in the hands of like a lesser actress, it would have been a very lame part, or it could have bordered on annoying and bitchy. But I think she plays Lynette in a way that's like, hey, you know, you don't hate Lynette, even though she's being so high maintenance. You're just like, Jerry, deal with it. So you said you wonder what became of her movie career. I mean, she's done a lot of stuff. I mean, I was looking at her IMDb. I think she did drop more into doing television shows and stuff like that. And like I said, she's in that television series called Fatal Attraction based on the movie. I haven't watched any of that, but I always enjoy her. I think she's fantastic. She's like another one of those like strikingly beautiful women that, of course, Jerry dates. But yes, the trifecta, right? Molly Shannon, Raquel Welch, and Amanda Peet. What a great, I mean, in this finale, they hit it out of the park. Finally, Greg says, 1 season to go, Shivani. I feel like we should be popping champagne bottles. Oh, well, maybe we'll have to arrange that somehow when I finish this entire series, the last podcast episode. That'll be amazing. Thank you so much, Greg, for your thoughts. We always love them. And now it's time to close Greg's sack lunch. My favorite Elaine moments. I feel, a little bad saying this, but I have to say my favorite part of this episode is Molly Shannon. But that doesn't mean that JLD doesn't have great moments, and her performance is fantastic as well, but she's a little bit overshadowed. Whenever I think of this episode, I just think of Molly Shannon, all the things she does. Anyway, that being said, I do like how JLD delivers the line, lurching around like a caveman. I like how she delivers that because she's saying something super harsh, but she's like laughing as she says it. Like, I don't know. There's something about that combination that makes it so funny to me. And then that reaction, right? Like, I'm a caveman. And it's like, oh, wait, no, I didn't mean it like that. It's so funny. A close second, I think, is the response to Jerry. That is so stupid. Love it. And my final notes. This is one of my favorite Elaine plots of the entire series. And JLD is great, like I said, but this plot sings mostly because of Molly Shannon's brilliance. I mean, I know I'm a broken record at this point. She plays Sam to perfection, such a fun character, everything from the physicality to how she interacts with Elaine. Really a jackpot for Molly Shannon and for Seinfeld for getting Molly Shannon. Like, it was a win-win here. And then to get Raquel Welch to bring her brilliance. This episode is jam-packed with female star power. And nothing excites me more than that. Such a strong season finale. All the plots are hilarious. I honestly wouldn't change very much about it. No scene swaps for me. And I don't know. That's really all. I've been gushing about this entire episode the whole time. And that's it for season 8. Just one more season to go. And I will say, I think the 9th season is the best season of Seinfeld. So needless to say, I'm really excited to dive in. Now, I will take 1 week off. I need to record my best of Elaine moments. I like to take a week between seasons and do that and just kind of take a little break. So that's always fun. I'm going to be planning all of that next week and hopefully churn out something that's worthy of JLD and her performances. I mean, those best of montage things I make, they're mostly just to make people chuckle. I'm not claiming to be some fantastic impressionist at all. I just thought, hey, this is a kind of fun thing. I can just act it out and we'll see who likes it. So this concludes my 150th episode. It's truly been a pleasure. Please make sure to follow the podcast on social media. On Instagram, it's at Hot Heavy Elaine. TikTok at Elaine Bennis Podcast. If you'd like to email me, please do at elainepodcast@gmail.com. And that's all I can say about the Summer of George. Thank you so much for listening, and I will see you next time.